Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when we pause to reflect not just on our own journeys, but on the remarkable tapestry of human connection that shapes everything we are and everything we aspire to be. We often think about progress, about discovery, about the relentless pursuit of what lies beyond the horizon. Yet beneath all of that, beneath rockets, machines, data, and the fire of invention, there remains something profoundly human: our relationships, our bonds, the people we choose to walk beside us. Tonight, as we explore a subject that feels both deeply personal and universally fascinating, I want to take you into a story not of engineering or industry, but of a wedding guest list, a seemingly simple thing that, when looked at closely, reveals an extraordinary intersection of love, science, culture, and human aspiration. Now, when people hear about the possibility of celebrities attending a wedding, it often sounds like gossip, like entertainment headlines designed to capture attention for a fleeting moment. But I want you to think about it differently. Imagine for a moment that each guest, each presence at an event like this, is not simply a name on a list, but a node in a network, a living connection point that represents an entire ecosystem of ideas, of influence, of history, and of future potential. When a gathering like this happens, it is not merely about celebration. It becomes an experiment in human culture, a blending of minds, personalities, and even industries that do not often collide in such intimate ways. Consider, for example, the way we perceive celebrities in modern society. Neuroscientists have long studied something called the mirror neuron system, a network in our brains that lights up when we watch others experience joy, pain, love, or achievement. This is why we cry during movies, why we feel elation when our favorite athlete wins, or why we find ourselves inspired by an artist who seems to put our own hidden feelings into words. Now imagine taking those figures, musicians, actors, visionaries, athletes, and placing them not on a stage or a screen, but within the sacred, vulnerable circle of a wedding. The very idea transforms how we think about fame. These people are no longer icons. They are witnesses to a union, participants in a human ritual as old as civilization itself. Think of what it means to have someone like a world-renowned scientist in the audience, sitting next to a musician whose songs have carried billions of listeners through heartbreak and healing, or a filmmaker who has changed the way entire generations see the future. That juxtaposition is fascinating because the human brain thrives on novelty and on the merging of contexts that don't usually overlap. When we bring together people from different domains, we create what psychologists call cognitive diversity, a fertile ground where innovation and empathy thrive. Weddings, oddly enough, can serve as one of the most powerful laboratories for this. And then, of course, there's the deeply personal layer. For any bride and groom, choosing a guest list is more than a logistical exercise. It is a question of legacy. Who do you want by your side when you make a vow that could alter the course of your life? Who has earned the right to stand as a witness to your joy? Some will be family, bound by blood and memory. Others will be friends, forged in the fires of shared struggle and laughter. But when you add public figures, celebrities, into that equation, the symbolism becomes more profound. Their presence says something not only about personal relationships, but also about the values and visions that matter to the couple. We know that in modern culture, the boundary between the personal and the public has eroded. Social media has created a reality where a private event can ripple into a global spectacle in seconds. A wedding guest list, therefore, becomes more than private acknowledgement. It becomes a message to the world, a statement of what you value, who you admire, and even what kind of future you are aligned with. If a Nobel Prize winning physicist walks in, the world sees a nod to the power of science. If a Grammy winning musician is there, it speaks to the universal role of art in shaping human connection. If a tech entrepreneur or an activist sits quietly among the guests, Their presence reminds us that progress is not only personal, it is planetary. But I want you to look even deeper. Weddings, at their core, are about memory. Neuroscientifically speaking, memory is not a single storage unit in the brain. It is a reconstruction, a reactivation of neural networks that allow us to relive in vivid detail what mattered most. Now imagine the memories that will be forged in such a room. A comedian making the audience laugh until tears stream down their faces. A legendary athlete raising a toast, their voice cracking with genuine emotion. A filmmaker whispering a story about love that no one else has ever heard. These are the things that imprint themselves not only on the couple, but on everyone who bears witness. They form part of a collective narrative, one that transcends the individuals in the room and radiates outward. In anthropology, we often speak about rituals as mechanisms for binding a group together. Rituals are powerful because they synchronize our emotions, our physiology, even our brain waves. Studies have shown that when people sing together, their heart rates sync. When they dance, their breathing aligns. And when they share a moment of awe, their neural activity shows remarkable overlap. Now picture that happening in a room filled with scientists, artists, entrepreneurs, actors, athletes, and family members. The synchronization would not only be emotional, but symbolic. A rare alignment of human achievement across fields, all resonating to the rhythm of love and unity. Yet, there is something else here that cannot be overlooked: the symbolic weight of celebrity presence. Imagine for a moment that among the guests are people who have shaped how we think about the future. Visionaries who dared to dream of life beyond Earth, storytellers who reimagined our place in the universe, or leaders who pushed for justice when it was inconvenient or dangerous. Their presence at a wedding signals more than friendship. It signals solidarity with the very idea that love is not isolated from progress, that the personal and the planetary are intertwined. And what of the couple themselves? Their choice of guests reveals not just who they know, but who they are. Every name on that list is like a brushstroke in a portrait. Do they choose innovators, suggesting a reverence for the future? Do they invite artists, signaling that they value beauty and storytelling? Do they bring athletes, celebrating perseverance and discipline? Each guest is a reflection of the values that underpin the marriage itself. This is not gossip, this is anthropology, neuroscience, psychology, and sociology converging in one event. Think also about the future stories that will emerge from such a gathering. A child born 20 years from now might hear their parents say, "We were at that wedding," and the memory will carry with it a kind of mythic glow. People will recall not only the vows, but the conversations that happened between legends in fields that rarely overlap. Maybe a musician and a scientist sit at the same table and spark a collaboration that changes the way we experience sound and brain health. Maybe a filmmaker overhears a discussion about interplanetary travel and finds the seed for the next great cinematic epic. These ripple effects, though invisible at first, can alter culture in ways we cannot predict. When we talk about celebrities, we often use the language of light, stars, shining, spotlight. But here's the fascinating part in physics: light does not exist in isolation. It bends, it reflects, it refracts, it interacts with the medium it travels through. So too do these individuals, these so-called stars. In a wedding setting, their light is not about performance or public image. It is about reflection, how their presence reflects on the couple, and how the couple reflects their values back into the world. And yet, amidst all this symbolism and grand speculation, we must not lose sight of something simpler. Behind the fame, behind the achievements, behind the accolades, each guest is still a human being. They laugh, they grieve, they get nervous before speeches, they feel awkward when they don't know where to sit. And that, perhaps, is the most beautiful part. Because in that moment, stripped of stages and cameras, celebrities become exactly like everyone else. A witness to love, a participant in joy, a human being sharing in the timeless ritual of two lives becoming one. And if we take a step back to look at this entire scenario from a broader lens, we realize that a wedding guest list is more than just names on a page. It is a map of influence, a snapshot of how different domains of human culture intersect at one moment in time. Anthropologists would call this a liminal space, a threshold where ordinary boundaries dissolve. A scientist may look across the table and realize that the singer next to them has, through music, reached more hearts than any scientific paper ever could. And the singer may realize that without the scientist's research, the very world that inspired their lyrics might not even exist. It is in that recognition that respect is born, and from respect comes collaboration. Take, for example, the neurochemistry of awe. Neuroscientists have shown that when humans experience awe, whether standing before a mountain, hearing a breathtaking symphony, or witnessing a ritual like a wedding, our brains release dopamine and oxytocin, chemicals that simultaneously motivate us and connect us. Awe reduces ego, expands perspective, and creates what psychologists describe as the small self, a humbling awareness of being part of something much larger. Now imagine the collective awe in a room where the most celebrated artists, thinkers, innovators, and loved ones converge. That awe does not simply stay contained within four walls. It radiates outward because those individuals carry it back into their respective fields. What began as a wedding memory may ripple into a song, a theory, a film, or a breakthrough that touches millions who were never there. This is the hidden power of gatherings. We often underestimate them, reducing them to logistics or social niceties, when in fact, they are engines of cultural transmission. If we look back at history, some of the most profound shifts began with a group of people in a room. The Enlightenment was born in salons where philosophers, writers, and scientists shared ideas over candlelight. The Renaissance thrived in courts where artists and patrons exchanged not only money, but vision. Even revolutions began with secret meetings where words spoken between a few became the destiny of millions. So, when we think about a wedding guest list filled with individuals who shape culture, we are not merely speculating about who shows up for dinner. We are imagining the conditions under which new cultural epochs might quietly be seated. Of course, there will always be those who see only the spectacle, the headlines, the surface level intrigue of which actor sits next to which athlete. That is natural. Human attention is wired to be drawn to the novel, the glamorous, the unexpected. But beneath that surface, there is a far richer layer, an emotional and scientific reality that few pause to consider. A wedding, especially one with such a guest list, becomes not just a personal milestone, but a symbolic event for the collective imagination. It forces us to ask who matters to us, not only privately, but publicly. Who embodies the ideals we want our love story to be associated with. In psychology, there is a concept called social proof. It describes how we look to others, especially those we admire or trust, for cues on how to act, what to value, and even what to feel. A wedding filled with leaders, creators, and visionaries becomes an unconscious message to the world. Love itself is worthy of the same attention we give to innovation, art, and progress. It tells us that devotion, commitment, and partnership are not merely private matters, but cornerstones of civilization. Because without love, without trust, without the willingness to join lives, what exactly are we striving for with all our technology and ambition? Now let us consider for a moment the emotional impact on the couple themselves. Imagine standing at the altar, feeling the intensity of that moment, and looking out not just at family and friends, but at individuals who have shaped the very culture in which you live. There is humility in that, a reminder that while your personal story is unfolding, it is also part of something far greater. The vows you speak are personal, but the witnesses, those present, transform them into part of a collective narrative, and with each witness comes a unique lens, The actor sees drama and meaning. The scientist sees resilience and adaptation. The musician hears rhythm and harmony. The entrepreneur sees risk and reward. Their perspectives converge, and suddenly, your love is not only personal but archetypal, a story told through many disciplines at once. Think of what the neuroscientists would notice: the trembling of hands, the rapid beating of hearts, the micro-expressions of joy and nervousness that flicker across the face of the couple. Think of what the poet would notice: the cadence of the vows, the imagery woven into promises of forever. Think of what the athlete would notice: the endurance, the strength required to sustain love through adversity. Think of what the activist would notice: the courage to stand vulnerable before a world that too often values image over authenticity. Each perspective adds depth to the moment, and when combined, it paints a fuller, richer picture of what it means to be human. There is also a fascinating paradox at play. In a wedding filled with so many luminous individuals, one might expect the couple to be overshadowed. And yet, what happens instead is that all that brilliance seems to bend inward, focusing on the center, amplifying the love being celebrated. In physics, this is akin to gravitational lensing, where the gravity of a massive object bends light around it, magnifying what lies behind. Here, the love between two people becomes the gravitational core, and the light of celebrity presence does not diminish it, it magnifies it. And then there is the mystery of memory, not just for those present, but for the millions who will watch from afar. Because in our world today, no wedding of this magnitude is purely private. Photos will circulate, stories will be told, imaginations will be captured. People who will never meet the couple or the guests will nonetheless feel connected, inspired, or even transformed by what they see. This is the paradox of fame. It allows private rituals to echo across humanity. And though some might see that as superficial, it is in fact deeply human. From the beginning of time, we have gathered around fires, told stories of heroes, celebrated unions with songs that traveled across valleys and oceans. Today's technology is simply the latest campfire, and a wedding of this nature becomes one more story, passed along the collective thread of human memory. But there is also responsibility in that, because when the world watches, when billions of eyes turn toward a private moment, what is conveyed matters. The guest list becomes not just about who attends, but about what values are put on display. Will the gathering embody inclusivity, diversity, humility? Will it showcase not only glamour but gratitude, not only wealth but wisdom? These choices matter because they do not stay within the walls of the event. They echo, they reverberate, they model possibilities for the millions watching from outside. And at the heart of it all, beyond the science, beyond the symbolism, beyond the spectacle, remains something profoundly simple: two people choosing each other. All the celebrities, all the scientists, all the leaders, all the artists, they are witnesses, amplifiers, mirrors. But the core is unchanged. Love, in its most honest form, requires no audience, no validation, no applause. It simply exists. And yet, by inviting others into that circle, by allowing witnesses, famous or not, the couple acknowledges that love does not only belong to them, it belongs to the community, to the world, as a reminder of what is still possible for all of us. And yet, what fascinates me most about a wedding like this is how it reminds us of the paradox of scale. On one level, it is deeply intimate. Two people exchanging vows, often whispering words that no one else can fully hear or understand. On another level, it is vast, almost cosmic, because of the symbolic weight carried by those in attendance and by those who will remember and retell the story. This duality mirrors the way human life itself operates. Each of us is a single consciousness, a private universe of thoughts, memories, and dreams, and yet we are also part of a species, a civilization, a planet striving toward a shared destiny. A wedding is both microcosm and macrocosm, the smallest circle of love reflecting the largest arcs of humanity. When celebrities attend such an event, we are reminded of this duality in a heightened way, because these are individuals who, by the very nature of their visibility, live simultaneously as private persons and as public symbols. An actor may embody dozens of characters in the collective memory, yet at the wedding, they are simply a friend. A scientist may be celebrated for unraveling the mysteries of nature, yet there they are, quietly holding a glass of champagne and smiling at a toast. In these moments, the boundary between private and public dissolves, and what is left is something rare: authenticity. And authenticity, more than fame or brilliance, is the real currency of love. I think often about how the human brain interprets authenticity. We have evolved to detect subtle cues, tone of voice, micro-expressions, body language, that tell us when someone is being genuine. Our survival once depended on it, and even now, our social lives are anchored in it. At a wedding, authenticity resonates more powerfully than anywhere else, because love itself cannot be faked. It is either real or it is not, and when it is real, it radiates. Even the most polished celebrity, trained to perform for cameras and crowds, cannot help but be disarmed by that authenticity. And in that moment, they too become students, reminded that beneath all the accolades and attention, what truly matters is connection. Think of the stories that might unfold at the reception tables, in the quiet corners, on the dance floor, a physicist explaining black holes to a musician who replies with a metaphor about heartbreak, a comedian telling a story that makes even the most stoic scientist laugh until their eyes water, an activist finding common ground with a billionaire over the simple idea that every child deserves hope. These are the moments that no headline will capture, yet they are the ones that will linger in memory, shaping how those individuals see not only the couple but themselves. In many ways, this is what culture has always been: a grand conversation between disciplines, between perspectives, between souls. We like to imagine that progress happens in isolation, that a genius sits alone and produces something world-changing. But the truth is, ideas are pollinated in gatherings, in conversations, in moments of human connection that no one could have scripted. A wedding guest list like this is not just about names. It is about the possibility of collisions that could shape the next chapter of human creativity. And here lies something profoundly humbling: love itself becomes the catalyst. We spend so much time searching for the drivers of progress: curiosity, ambition, necessity. Yet here we are, reminded that love, the desire to unite lives, to build families, to share futures, may be the greatest driver of all. Because it is love that gathers people in one room, love that inspires them to witness, love that creates the stage upon which all these interactions can unfold. Without love, there would be no wedding, no guest list, no convergence of minds and hearts. Love is the hidden architect of the entire scene. Now imagine years from now, when the photographs have faded and the headlines have been archived, what remains? Those who attended will not remember every detail, but they will remember the feeling, the warmth of the atmosphere, the resonance of the vows, the laughter that echoed long after midnight, and those feelings will weave into the fabric of their lives, carried forward in ways both subtle and profound. The musician may write a song that captures the essence of that night. The scientist may return to their lab with a renewed sense of wonder. The filmmaker may find in the joy of the dance floor the spark for a story about resilience and beauty. And the couple themselves will carry the knowledge that their union did not only change their own lives, but touched the lives of everyone who bore witness. And then there is us, the millions who may never be in that room, who will only hear fragments, who will catch glimpses through media or retellings. Why does it matter to us? Why do we care who attends, what was said, how the night unfolded? The answer is not gossip, it is aspiration. We look to these moments as reflections of what we long for: unity, connection, the possibility that our personal lives might resonate with the larger story of humanity. Seeing a wedding filled with extraordinary individuals gives us permission to imagine our own lives as extraordinary, to believe that our love, too, might ripple outward into the world. This is the hidden beauty of such events. They remind us that private joy and public progress are not separate, they are intertwined. The same brain that builds rockets also falls in love. The same heart that writes poetry also signs contracts. The same species that dreams of Mars also dreams of marriage. We cannot separate these things because they are all expressions of what it means to be human. And perhaps that is the greatest message a wedding guest list can send, that in the end, the personal is universal, the intimate is cosmic, and the story of two people in love is also, somehow, the story of us all. So as we imagine this gathering, let us not reduce it to speculation about who sits where, who wears what, or who makes headlines. Let us instead see it for what it truly is, a convergence of human possibility, a reminder that love remains the most powerful force we know, and that when love brings people together, whether they are family, friends, or figures who shape the world, something greater than a ceremony takes place. A signal is sent across generations and across the stars that no matter how advanced we become, no matter how far we travel, no matter how much we achieve, we are still defined at the deepest level by our capacity to love and to be loved. And when the last song fades, when the lights dim, when the guests return to their own extraordinary lives, what endures is simple. Two people, hand in hand, beginning a journey together. Not as celebrities, not as icons, not as public figures, but as human beings. And in their courage to love, to commit, to invite others into that moment, they give us all a gift, a reminder that the greatest legacy any of us can leave is not our inventions or our fame, but the love we create, the lives we touch, and the humanity we share. Thank you.